Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 was a turning point in the entire franchise. It stepped into darker, more mature storytelling, and the behind-the-scenes efforts reflect just how complex and masterful the production had become. Let's dive into the behind-the-scenes magic of some of the most iconic and visually challenging scenes from this film. This scene captures one of the most emotionally intense moments in the film, when Harry dives into a frozen pond to retrieve the Sword of Gryffindor. But as he tries to retrieve it, the Horcrux locket reacts violently, attempting to strangle him. Just when all hope seems lost, Ron Weasley bursts onto the scene. After weeks of absence, he returns at Harry's most vulnerable moment and saves him. The behind-the-scenes reveals that this entire sequence wasn't shot in the actual Forest of Dean. Instead, the entire magical forest was meticulously created inside the studio. We can see in the BTS footage that a massive lighting rig was used on set to create the illusion of moonlight filtering through trees. Meanwhile, the director David Yates can be seen instructing Radcliffe and Grant with intense focus, emphasizing every emotional nuance. Each breath, each struggle, each expression of fear and redemption was carefully orchestrated to capture the gravity of the moment. The sword stab and Horcrux destruction were of course done practically. In this BTS, you can see a prop locket was used for the stabbing scene. And Harry and Rupert Grint performed the stab in real time, adding authenticity to the moment. And to portray Harry's underwater struggle convincingly, where Harry sinks deeper into the pond before Ron's rescue, the crew recreated the entire setting inside Leavesden Studios. For this scene production, designers built a massive glass wall tank, which allowed makers for easy underwater filming. Daniel Radcliffe did his own underwater stunts, after receiving specialized scuba diving training. Underwater camera rigs were used to capture high-resolution shots from multiple angles. While the water appears freezing on screen, in reality it was warmed for Daniel's safety. To simulate the icy environment, digital color tinting and effects were added later in post-production. And the moment where the locket begins to strangle Harry, this intense moment was a complex blend of wirework, CGI, and underwater acting. Behind-the-scenes footage shows Daniel rigged to a harness that pulled him backwards underwater, simulating the struggle. The locket's slithering and tightening movements were later created with CGI to blend seamlessly into the scene. This tense scene shows Voldemort holding a meeting at Malfoy Manor, with the professor suspended mid-air as a demonstration of power. It was shot entirely on an elaborate set. The level of detail in this set design is extraordinary. Actors fully immerse themselves in character, making the sequence feel unnervingly real. Behind the scenes, we see Ralph Fiennes and others rehearsing, capturing the intensity and unease of the moment. Nagini, Voldemort's snake, was of course created through CGI. This BTS footage shows really early renderings and reference models used to plan the snake's movement through the scenes. In one of the most technically ambitious scenes of the entire Harry Potter franchise, 6 members of the Order of Phoenix transform into Harry Potter's using Polyjuice potion. What follows is a dizzying illusion, 7 identical Harrys preparing to escape Voldemort's Death Eater's reach. To create the cinematic sleight of hand, the crew turned to the motion control camera rig, which is a robotic system that could repeat precise camera movements again and again. Daniel Radcliffe performed each of the 7 roles separately, copying the physical mannerisms of the original actors who played the characters transforming. Each take required perfect timing and mimicry, down to how each character moves and their expression. In total, Radcliffe completed 95 separate takes for the sequence. The magic was in the syncing of all the shots together using the motion control camera rig, creating a seamless final image of all characters appearing simultaneously as Harry. Once the 7 Harrys take off, the sky transforms into a battleground. With Death Eaters in pursuit, a high-speed aerial chase unfolds, featuring broomsticks, spells, and Hagrid's magical motorbike roaring through the clouds. This required advanced mechanical setups and VFX layering. To simulate these airborne stunts, the filmmakers mounted actors onto mechanical gimbals, advanced rigs capable of mimicking flight movements like swoops, dives, and sharp turns. Wind machines and fans created the scene of movement while actors acted in front of a green screen. These rigs made the actors feel and look like they were truly slicing through the night sky. The actual broomsticks were modified with padded seats and stabilizers to ensure the actors could perform safely. All background elements, including the skies, magical chases, and attacks, were later added using CGI. Similarly, Hagrid's bike was placed on a specially engineered platform, as you can see in this BTS clip. The bike suddenly shifted and tilted, making the scene feel dynamic and realistic. This visual effects team later added spell trails, explosions, and streaking clouds, enhancing the intensity. After Harry and Ron part ways, Harry and Hermione continue the Horcrux quest. They visit a snow-covered village and eventually discover James and Lily Potter's grave, before entering Batlida Bagshot's house. This sequence demanded both atmospheric and emotional depth. The snowy village was fully constructed at Leavesden Studios, with fake snow made from soap-based foam and the air filled with foam from mist machines. Green screens were placed later behind the set to allow for background replacement. The moment Harry finds his parents' grave was treated with reverence. The lighting was dim and blue-tinted. Fog hugged the tombstones, and the pace of editing slowed to allow the audience to feel Harry's loss. Behind the scenes, crew members worked meticulously to position each prop and lighting source to heighten the emotional depth. The environment didn't just serve as a backdrop, it acted as an emotional amplifier. Inside Batlida Bagshot's home, everything turns from somber to terrifying. The set was built to look decayed and abandoned. Mildew-coated furniture, broken picture frames, and dust-choked air set the mood. Production designer Stuart Craig built the entire haunted house with great attention to detail. Dusty corners, moldy dishes, cobwebs, and a general feeling of decay. It was designed to evoke discomfort. The climactic moment in this sequence is when Nagini attacks Harry inside Batlida's home. The filmmakers first created a pre-visualization storyboard to choreograph the action. Then, Daniel Radcliffe performed the sequence with utmost intensity. In close-up shots, a crew member used the fake prop for more authentic reaction and physical interaction of Harry with Nagina. As you can see in this behind-the-scenes video, how a crew uses a stick to mimic the movements of Nagina. This was later replicated digitally and with Nagini in post-production. Among the many magical beings in the Harry Potter universe, the elves stand out as some of the most endearing, and Dobby in particular holds a special place in every fan's heart. But what's truly fascinating is how these tiny characters were brought to life on screen. Behind the scenes, the process was nothing short of cinematic wizardry. Dobby and other elves weren't portrayed by a physical puppet or actor on set. He was completely digital. The entire character was crafted using advanced CGI animation, and the animators painstakingly added every little twitch, blink, and tear to make him feel alive. Watching this behind-the-scenes footage makes one appreciate just how much heart and effort went into giving this beloved character a soul on screen. The wizardry world was filled with small but brilliant magical touches, and one of the most iconic of them was the moving images in newspapers. As kids, many of us wondered, how do they make the pictures in the Daily Prophet move like that? The answer lies in a clever blend of practical design and VFX. On set, the areas where these magical moving images were supposed to appear were actually printed in green or blue. Yes, it's just a simple green patch on the newspaper and books. In post-production, the VFX team replaced those green or blue areas with looping videos of characters moving, smiling, or speaking, making the newspapers feel truly alive. This simple yet effective technique turned an ordinary prop into something utterly magical and unforgettable. Hermione's enchanted bag was a marvel in the film. Tiny on the outside, yet holding endless supplies within. Whether it was a tent, books, clothes, or food, she could pull out anything with ease. But how did the filmmakers achieve this magical illusion? Behind the scenes, the trick was brilliantly practical. A hidden hole was created beneath the bag, allowing Emma Watson to slide her arm through and retrieve real objects from underneath the set. Later in post-production, her extended arm was digitally erased, and the fabric of the bag was seamlessly extended using CGI. The result? A flawless magical moment that kept the illusion intact and left the audience spellbound. One of these intense scenes in the film is the restaurant ambush, where Harry, Ron, and Hermione are suddenly attacked while dining. While the action feels raw and real, the environment was far more controlled than it seemed. In the BTS footage, we see that many of these background elements, including the restaurant's outside view, were entirely shot against green screens. The magical world was added later through detailed VFX layering. The same technique was used in other sequences, like the train ride with Neville and the iconic green snitch scenes. Wings flapping on the snitch, distant landscapes, and even the nighttime chases were created or enhanced with CGI, turning everyday locations into magical battlegrounds and dreamlike spaces. In one of the film's most chilling moments, Voldemort opens the tomb of Albus Dumbledore and claims the Elder Wand, one of the most powerful, magical artifacts ever known. The scene is quiet, intense, and loaded with significance. Surprisingly, the crew didn't travel to some exotic island to shoot this. Instead, they built a detailed grave set within a jungle-like area, enhancing it with clever production design. Surrounding the set, large green screens were placed to allow the environment to be completely transformed later. In post-production, the background was digitally extended to resemble an isolated island surrounded by a vast sea. Fog, dark skies, and a cold mystical atmosphere were all added to elevate the scene's emotional weight. Dumbledore's grave was digitally enhanced, and Voldemort's power moment was all made the more dramatic by blending real performance with seamless effects. And that's a wrap on today's magical journey behind the scenes. We hope this gave you a brand new appreciation for all the hard work and creativity that made these unforgettable scenes come to life. What did you think of this behind the scenes breakdown? And which movie behind the scenes would you love to see us cover next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we read them all. Until next time, stay curious, stay magical, and we'll see you in the next one.